Let's jump right in by seeing how PG&E defines a PSPS.
Public Safety Power Shutoff, or PSPS, is a precautionary safety measure implemented after the 2017 and 2018 wildfires that may proactively turn off power lines when fire danger conditions are forecasted using our network of weather stations. While communities in high fire threat areas are the most likely to be affected, all PG&E customers should be prepared for possible public safety power outages. Because power lines can serve communities many miles away, even customers who do not live in high fire threat areas or are not experiencing severe weather may lose power. So even if there are not high winds or dangerous conditions where you live, your power may be interrupted because you are served by a line impacted by those conditions. It is important that our customers make a plan to keep themselves safe during wildfire season. To learn more about public safety power shutoffs or for tips to better prepare you for an outage, visit safetyactioncenter.pge.com. Public safety.
I don't think so. We heard you the first time. So let's say that there is a difference. Let's just know this between public safety power shutoffs, when you hear that that's going to happen 48 or so hours before it happens, and rotating power outages or rolling blackouts. Those are two different things, and you get different resources available to you in response to those two. So as you can see, PSPSs are due to high fire threat conditions, and they're controlled by PG&E. Rolling power outages or blackouts are due to stress on the power grid, and CAISO, the grid operator, is the one that makes that decision. We'll talk more about what resources differ for those things as we go along. When does a PSPS happen? When they call for a red flag warning, chances are very high that it will happen. So it means relative humidity has dropped below 20%, winds are sustained at 25 miles an hour plus, gusting over 45. Fuel moisture is low. Any combination of those that makes it look like a spark could make it all go up. So PG&E crews on the ground also offer their real-time observations, and PG&E makes their decisions based on that. On the news, you'll hear in the morning fire weather watch or red flag warning, potentially all throughout this summer. So fire weather watch means heads up, we're on the cusp, just be heads up. But fire weather conditions aren't right now. We aren't at that below 20% relative humidity. We aren't having the winds out at the high gusting and sustained that would cause something further, but heads up, right? When you hear red flag warning, that means that all we need is a spark, conditions are right, everything will go up. Don't do it. Don't mow your lawn in the afternoon. Don't go and weed whack next to the concrete, next to a bunch of rocks and tall grass. Like don't tempt the fates, because it's gonna happen. If it was gonna happen today, it will be with your spark. So that's a big bill. So don't do that. So fire weather watch, we're watching out for fire weather that might develop. Red flag warning, tone it down. Preparing for a PSPS. Basically, get alerts, make a plan, spring to action. So how do you get alerts? PG&E has actually set up a great page that you can type in your address to see if you are currently, if you have internet at the moment, if you are currently under a fire weather watch or a red flag warning or in a PSPS alert time. And my husband likes to say PSPS, pss, pss. So thank you for distracting me. This is being recorded. This is official. All right. But so you can sign up and put your address in to see what your status is for if you're due in line for a PSPS, or you can also just get alerts to your phone. You'll get a text message or an email when they do come out throughout the summer. So it's helpful to go do that. If you know how to use QR codes, I'm not going to take the time to explain them right now, but if you know how to use them, feel free to use the QR code that's right here in the screen, and that will take you to the alert sign up page. Or as you can see at the bottom, you can go to pgalerts.pge.com /other stuff /. All right. Also, you can call 211 if you have any questions about, hey, I thought that I heard something about a PSPS. Is that happening? 211 is a great resource. You can just dial those 3 numbers on your phone and you'll have somebody answer that can tell you, they can answer many of your questions. It's kind of like calling the librarian is how I think of it. They're very good at helping you find the resources that are going to work for your question. All right, step 2, Make the plan. Assess how you will be affected in a power shutoff and plan for how you're going to mitigate those issues. Are those issues inconvenient or are they life-threatening? Do you have medical equipment, for instance, that needs power? Something along those lines. That's going to mean that you need to take an extra step up and really make that plan quickly, make that plan completely and with an informed mind, because there's not going to be a redo if your equipment is affected and it's life-threatening. Do the same for your inner circle and your pets. Go onto your PG&E contact page and where you sign in if you have a PG&E account, and go ahead and update your contact info so they have the most recent phone number for you so that you will get those text updates when they send them out. I got several last year, so I know that they do send them out. Make sure your go bag and your stay box is ready. Hopefully in the event of a PSPS, it's not hopefully due to wildfire being already in our area. So hopefully you won't need the go bag, but have it ready. And that stay box is for if you're sitting there without electricity in your own home for a day, 2 days, 3 days. So we talked about those in the earthquake kit last time, but feel free to reach out to your local CERT team or go on to Listos, California, which is a state-run resource that has a whole bunch of actually really great tips and guides and quizzes to help you prepare. But your Campbell CERT team is super happy to help you figure out things. If you are like, oh, I think I'm short on something, but I'm not sure what, we can talk it out. We're here for you. And then step 3, practice the plan. Discuss it with your household, with your neighbors, so people know what's going to happen. I think that PSPS is something that we all know means the power goes out, but not everyone knows beyond that, right? How soon am I supposed to get, alerts? How long can it be out for? What does PG&E need to do for me after a power outage, right? That's what we're going to go over as we continue today. But share that info with your neighbors. Whatever you learned today has been taken directly from PG&E or Red Cross or other vetted sources. There's lots of crossover, as I said, with your earthquake prep in terms of having a go bag ready and a stay box ready for if the power and the utilities go down. And then something I really wanted to make sure we mentioned is practice the emergency release on your garage door. This is part of practicing the plan, because when the power goes out, if you need to evacuate for any reason and you have a car parked in a garage, you need to know, not just theoretically, but you need to actually have done it, pull the emergency release on your garage door so that the door will open, because bad things have happened in wildfires. I'm not saying that we'd have a wildfire in Campbell, but if you needed to evacuate for some reason and you couldn't get your door open, now what you're supposed to walk, you should know how to open your garage door. So practice that, and definitely reach out to Campbell CERT if you would like help on learning how to do that. Let's go over some guidance from the pros, starting out with San Jose Water. They say that they have prepared for PSPS with infrastructure investments in storage, treatment, and backup power. But that does not mean to use water like everything is normal. You'll see on here they have recommendations. Conserve and restrict water use to essentials. Turn off your sprinkler system, for the love of God. It's okay to turn off your sprinkler system when there's a PSPS. And many of us in the summer, because we're Californians, we already reduce the amount of water that we do on our plants in our yards because we're already drought stricken, right? So that's one extra thing to add to your checklist. Oh yeah, the one time a week that I do have it come on, let's just go ahead and turn it off because it's a PSPS and it's going to tax the system. Hot water will be limited or unavailable depending on what kind of water heater you have. But just plan on probably not having hot water. So if you need to have water heated up, think about how you're going to do that. And for more information on water specific PSPS stuff, feel free to go to sjwater.com. Guidance from the pros in the sewer sanitation sector. West Valley Sanitation has backup power and treatment. San Jose Santa Clara Regional Wastewater says that they are committed to 100% energy self-sufficiency by 2022. So let's monitor how that goes, depending on which companies service your area. But preventing sewage backups during a PSPS, you're going to minimize the number of times that you flush that toilet, because some pumps, if you have a septic tank, so the sewage grinder pumps that downsize the waste before it goes into the, further downstream, those things are probably going to be off or severely on like backup power, reduced usage. So try not to use the toilet flushing as often. And being in drought, we all probably are familiar with that practice anyway. Guidance from the pros from Pacific ADA. So oxygen users, look into ways that you can maybe if you can have a reduced flow rate, if that's possible for your medical condition. Know about safety and avoiding the gas leaks and fire hazards. Have oxygen in use signs up. Most people do when they have oxygen, pure oxygen at home. If you need dialysis and the PSPS happens to fall on a day that you're supposed to go in, now, before it happens, now ask your provider where you can go in case of emergencies or for that dialysis treatment, if it's okay for you to put it off by a day or what they recommend. Don't wait until the PSPS is happening to ask that question. Having rechargeable batteries, vehicle jumper cables, cigarette lighter converters, a manual wheelchair that you could enlist somebody to help you get around in if you need help with that. Plan for backup power if you can if it possibly exists. Start looking into what resources are available in that. And then label your equipment with your name, address, serial numbers, model, all that stuff on a piece of paper so that you don't have to go like get underneath your equipment to find out what the serial number is if somebody has a question about what's going to connect and give it power. Something we found is that the California Health and Human Services Department has a non-emergency hotline that was started in 2019, that you can call. I know because I called it, it's actually active right now. You can call and ask for what your resources are in a PSPS, or if it's during a PSPS, they say they will be open taking calls from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if you're having an actual situation, not an emergency situation, that's where you call 911. But if you're having a non-emergency situation that you're like, oh, could I get some help with knowing what my options are here in this PSPS situation? Call this hotline. Let's put it to work. Shoot, they're gonna put resources toward it. Let's use it. All right, the resource rundown, because knowing is half the battle. Do you have life support systems at home? Advise San Jose Water and PG&E that you need to be on their priority reconnection list. That is a thing. So you need to call up your utility, maybe wait on hold for a little while, like we do when we call, companies, and just tell them, I know there's a priority reconnection list. Can you tell me more about that? How do I get my name on it? Do I need a doctor's note? Do I need proof that I've had my power shut off several times? Tell me what I need to do to get on that list, because it's important for my medical needs for my life. Get in the medical baseline allowance program if you are eligible. This is for any income level. You have to be a PG&E customer, and you get the lowest energy rate available if you use qualified equipment on a daily basis. Usually, people who are in a PSPS situation, an incoming PSPS, you'll get a 48-hour notice, a 24-hour notice, and just prior, another notice, whether it's via text because of your alerts, or they're releasing it on the news, all that stuff. Baseline, people in the medical baseline allowance program will also get a knock on the door or extra calls ahead of time to assess their awareness levels and make sure that they are squared away. So it's valuable if you do have several pieces of equipment in your home that you use or somebody uses and needs on a daily basis to look into this program. Feel free to scan that QR code with your phone, or it's also available on pge.com, and we'll send it out in the letter later. So some things that do qualify, I'll just leave this up to you for a moment so that you can take a look and see, is there anything, should I even look into this program? Does any of this apply to me? Here's stuff that would potentially get you on that baseline program. I'll leave it up for a moment. Nebulizers that require electricity to work, infusion pumps, apnea monitor, things like that. Things that will not qualify: the hot tub. Dang it. Not that I have one, but I would love to. All right, so there are some things that don't qualify, but there are lots of things that do. So if that could be you, look into it. Food options. So when we started researching this topic, we thought PG&E had a program in place to reimburse for food spoilage. Well, they do, just not if it's happening during a PSPS. This is where terminology and legalese come into play. There are, however, options and programs in place for food during a PSPS if you are in need. Boom. So, Second Harvest Food Bank during a PSPS and 3 days following will provide your home with groceries if you go to their site. And that's in Silicon Valley area. The participating pantries in more areas are listed right here at the QR code or also on pge.com. And we will send out that full link because it was a long one. We'll send out the full link when we send out that page later. Also, check out your renters and home insurance, talk to your agent and see, does any food spoilage coverage for PSPS? I need to know these things, right? Or rolling blackouts, know all those things. Meals on Wheels. If you are already enrolled in Meals on Wheels, you will get an extra meal per day on PSPS days. So that's, stuff that you want to make sure that you can advocate for yourself to make sure that you get. Oh, and we're in a loop. There we go. All right, the Self-Generation Incentive Plan. PG&E will cover up to 100% of battery and installation costs for certain target groups. So you have to be enrolled in some of their programs already. You have to be medical baseline, which, as we said, is for any income level, or having notified PG&E of a medical condition that could be life-threatening if power is lost. And I imagine a doctor's note may be required for that, so heads up. Or being low-income qualified. And you must live in a tier 2 or 3 high fire threat district, which for the record, Campbell is not, but plenty of places around Campbell are. Or if you've lost power due to a past PSPS event 2 or more times. So you have to show that you have a medical need and that you are in danger of having the thing happen to you. So then you can be part of this, potentially having them reimburse you for battery installation costs. Here is a map. Little blue dot in the middle is Campbell. All around it, orange is tier 2, red is tier 3 fire threat. So you can see all along us. And so many people who are on today, some of you may live in those areas. You may be eligible for that battery cost reimbursement and installation. So maybe look into that, especially you have to be in all those programs as well. Feel free to scan that QR code if that is something that could help you out. That QR code also goes to the Disability Disaster Access and Resources Program, or DDARP, which also helps with hotel vouchers, transport, signing up for other programs like the Medical Baseline Program if you think you're eligible, but it's kind of daunting to start doing the paperwork. Scan that code, go to DDARP, and they will help you. That's actually the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers with their DDARP program. PG&E says that they will have community resource centers available. They will be different types: indoor, tent, micro, and mobile. And you can see this little checklist of what each one of those different nomenclatures will get you. To find locations during an event, they say that they're going to send that out in their alerts if you sign up for the text alerts, but also you can scan this or go to their website and it should also have that. Also, 211 is a good resource to call to find out where those are during a PSPS, because they will have that info. Refrigerator smarts. For a fridge and freezer, things you can do ahead of time to prepare your fridge and freezer to have a fighting chance to keep that food cold. And we'll talk about times for food being too warm in a second. But you need to make sure you're regularly, and I don't do this, but I need to, defrost, clean the gasket, vacuum the vent. You need to pull the fridge out to find the vent on the back, all this stuff, but it makes it so your fridge runs more efficiently, less heat, it's better for it. Store your meat low down. We all know heat rises. Same principle applies in a freezer. It'll stay cold longer the lower it is. Some people you can buy a temperature alarm if you want to have that, to put it in your fridge or freezer just for if you're in an area that's prone to power outages, so you can really know how warm it really got in there, to give you some peace of mind. And people say, oh yeah, take gallon milk jugs, fill up with water and put it in your freezer. Who has room for that in their freezer? So I liked this idea of freezing bottles of water after you drink them. If you're using disposable bottles, doesn't have to be disposable though, I guess. and you can just slide them into any of the gaps that you have. First of all, having less void spaces in your freezer will keep it cold longer because more things are frozen in contact with each other, but also it's more practical than fitting, like taking up all your food space with big old gallon jugs of water. And then you can take a couple of those out and put them in the fridge during a power outage, so that helps keep things cooler in there too. Now you know. During a PSPS, the checklist, here's some pictures for us, visuals. Powers out checklist. Have a charged battery bank, that little white thing with the green stuff on it. They make a billion different kinds. They make ones that are solar charged. They make ones that you power up ahead of time and they'll charge your phone like 4 or 8 times, depending on the size of the battery pack. But being able to keep in contact with people or keep yourself entertained is going to be big during PSPS if you are stuck in place. I put fairy jars here because I thought it was a fantastic idea when my hubby put together these for the last couple of power outages that we've had, because they happen periodically in my neighborhood. They're little battery pack string lights. He just throws one of them into a mason jar and puts it in the bathroom so that if it's a blackout at night, we can still, like, use the restroom or go into the kitchen, and it kind of lightens the mood. It's not as like depressing to be in a blacked out, in a no electricity house. But if you don't want to use fairy jars, lanterns, flashlights, have the batteries for those things available and have them with easy access so you can get to them. Fuel tank in the car, always at least half full. That's just a given. If it gets below half, what are you going to do if there's an earthquake or a PSPS and the pumps don't work anymore and you need to go 120 miles to get home or wherever, if you're working or whatever. So keep on that. It's worth doing. Have cards or board games, obviously entertainment things that don't need electricity, and then some light to play them by. Make sure that you have the ability to see them. Switch off or unplug appliances except for one lamp. They recommend to keep one lamp on or switched on so that when the power comes back on, that lamp will come on. So that if surges happen while they're trying to get power back to the system, that you don't have a bunch of blown circuits and a bunch of overcharged, overcurrented appliances that you have to get replaced now. All right, about the food being good. Keep your fridge door closed as much as possible. Per the CDC, there is the 4-hour rule for the fridge. Generally, if you can keep it closed, the fridge will keep your food at safe temperatures for about 4 hours. Some may be longer, depends on how much money you spent on your fridge, I'm sure, and how well you maintain it. But that 4-hour rule is something you want to look out for. If you have a full freezer, that full freezer will probably have good food in it for about 48 hours if you can keep it closed. If it's a half full freezer, about 24 hours they give it. When in doubt though, throw it out. It's not worth the fallout from eating food that has gone bad with bacteria and stuff on it. A phrase that I kind of took a shining to was 40 for 2, you can't undo. So if your food gets warmer than 40 degrees for about 2 hours or longer, you can't undo it, toss it. And that sucks, I know, but getting sick from eating that food or getting others sick is not going to help you in the long term. Let's say that. So, all right. So leave fuel burning devices outside. You want to cook on your camp stove? That's great. Take it outside. You have a generator and you're going to keep the lights on and the fridge on. Good planning. Put that generator outside. You want to keep warm. It's getting pretty cold. You have this great indoor heater that runs on butane or propane. That's great. Take it outside or buy one that does not, that has like a battery instead, right? Oh man, the heater that we have in the yard, yeah, it's run on natural gas, but oh man, it's cold in here. We need to heat up this house. Do not bring it inside. Even your fireplace, it burns wood. The process of burning a Class A fire puts off all sorts of things, but carbon monoxide is one of the ones that you don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't realize that you're getting sleepier due to it. All you know is that you end up taking a nice little nap and then don't wake up. So let's not do that to ourselves. We don't need that. It's a PSPS. It's not a zombie apocalypse, y'all. Let's keep it safe. Stay off the roadways when you're able to during a power outage. You're gonna have all these traffic lights out. People forget that that just means it's a stop sign now, so they just breeze right through it. You know, if you do have to go out, stop at every intersection, be super aware, even more so than usual on the road. Do not look at your cell phone, especially then. But reducing the amount of time you're on the road it'll be better for your safety. If you do have a generator, let's go over the tips. Keep it outside in a well-ventilated area, away from your open doors or even your closed doors, away from the windows, away from the vents in your house that bring air into the attic space, everything. Keep it away and make sure you check where the wind's coming from, because you're going to want to not have that pushing into your house from the wind. Connect directly to the outlets on the generator. That means you take your lamp and plug it directly into the outlet on the generator. Take your fridge with an extension cord, whatever, you plug it directly into the generator. You're not going to plug the generator into a wall outlet. That will energize part of the grid. And if somebody is working on an issue with the lines, then it will kill them. It will shock them, it will electrocute them. So let's not mess with the team. Consult a professional. If you're not trained in this, but you would love to have a generator on backup because you feel like that just makes a lot of sense for you, you're not alone. Do this with somebody who knows what's up and will help keep you safe. Emergency services like hospitals, dispatch centers, police, fire, EMS, they will have backup power. So they should still be able to be running their calls. They may be overloaded if there's some kind of a disaster in addition to the PSPS happening, but you can still do things like call 911 if you have your phone charged and have access to emergency services. So do know that. When the power's back on, what do we do? All right, you look at your lessons learned, you replenish the stuff you used, and check on your neighbors because we are a community. So power came back on. You want to restore the settings of your devices, things like the sprinklers, your clocks, medical equipment, anything that resets back to default when it turns off. Look at renewing the supplies for backup power. Like if you use a generator, that thing needed fuel, refill that gas can. If you use the battery pack for your phone and you played Candy Crush the whole night, that battery pack should be recharged so it's back to peak performance and it's go right back into your emergency stash. Recharge your devices, like it's saying there, and also top off your go bag and stay box. If you broke into those marshmallows that were in your stay box for a little bonfire night before to perk everyone's spirits up, buy another bag of marshmallows. Don't leave that hanging. That's going to be so sad. The next PSPS, you open it up and you got the sticks to roast the marshmallows, you got the graham crackers. There's no marshmallows. That's a no-go. Don't do that. So replenish your use